بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم نحمد ونصلي ونسلم على رسوله الكريم سيد الأنبياء والمرسلين وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين إلى يوم الدين أما بعد. We should not read the Quran to complete or compete, but also delete and defeat. Yes, it is good to vie with each other, it is good to make a lot of khatams, but while we are doing there as well, it is important to see how much of our life is changing, how much have we declared war with shaitan, and make effort in the direction so that this Quran becomes beneficial for us in dunya and akhirat. So staying away from sin and making tawbah and repenting to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's why the Zuhad and the aesthetics used to say, Man adnaba dhanban wa huwa yadhak. A person commits a sin laughingly, فَإِنَّ اللَّهَ يُدْخِلُهُ النَّارَ وَهُوَ يَبْكِي. Allah will enter him into Jahannam crying. وَمَنْ أَطَاعَ اللَّهَ وَهُوَ يَبْكِي فَإِنَّ اللَّهَ يُدْخِلُهُ الْجَنَّةَ وَهُوَ يَضْحَكُ. On the other hand, a person who weepingly obeys Allah, Allah will admit him into Jannah laughing. So a person who is doing ibadat and good, the more he progresses to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the more his fear, the more his khushu, the more his attention goes to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and this overwhelms him. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us the ni'mat of Quran, the ni'mat of Islam, the ni'mat of Iman. The shukr of this is to obey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Hazrat Abu Bakr Bin Abdullah Mazni rahmatullah alayhi used to say that a person who has been given Iman and good health should realize he's got the greatest of bounties of dunya and akhirat, because Iman will move you in akhirat, it'll catapult, it'll bolster you in akhirat, and the good health will be used for this deen. So it is important that we don't overlook and consider the ni'mat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala lightly. Likewise, sometimes shaitan comes to a person and convinces a person, no, it's only makruh, no, it's only sunnah, oh, it's only a saghira guna, just do it once, it's a once-off thing, just do it once-off. That once-off never ends, and it gets worse. لا تنظر إلى صغر الذنب ولكن انظر إلى من عصيت. Don't look how small the guna is, but look who you disobeying. The hukama used to say, the wise sages, لا تحقر الذنوب الصغار فإنها تنشعب منها الذنوب الكبار. Never ever regard a minor sin to be insignificant, because major sins are born from them. Major sins are born from them. So we hear about sins, we hear about the nuqsanat, we hear about the punishments which may come in this world. We know about qabr, we know about the gravity of qabr, we know about the severity of the day of Qiyamah, we know about hisab, kitab and accountability. We know all of it, but has the reality kicked in? That's the question. So people spend hours and hours on the television watching movies, etc., on the internet, on the wrong platforms, chatting to mahrams, different forms of ma'asi, and we continue oblivious. But the reality will strike only when the angel of death comes, and then it'll be too late. So we need to take lesson now. Even the so-called religious people, in the name of deen, compromise deen. They do sin, ma'asiyat, wrongs, and they justify it. So again, that darkness, such a darkness that we don't even see the light. So we need to make tawbah to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala before it's too late. Like the old man who woke up in a recovery room after an operation, and he said, Alhamdulillah, everything's over. So his neighbor heard him and he said, you're very lucky. So he was wondering what he's talking about. So he explained, they left a scalpel inside me. and there to operate on me again. So the old man said, "Oh, how terrible. That's very bad, man." So then the neighbor on the other side heard, and he said, "They had to open me up again." Now again he's shocked. They had to remove the sponge. So the old man again shocked now and worried. He said, "That's quite dreadful." Just then the surgeon who had just operated on the old man, he stuck his head around the door and asked, "Has anybody seen my hat? Has anybody seen my hat?" And the old man fainted. He fainted. So sometimes it's too late. When the angel of death comes, it's too late. We shouldn't wait for that. So the Qur'an Deen is light in this darkness. Let us find the light before the darkness. Qur'an is called Noor. Another name of the Qur'an is Noor. So it's such a light that will take a person out of the darkness. أَوَمَنْ كَانَ مَيْتًا فَأَحْيَيْنَاهُ وَجَعَلْنَا لَهُ نُورًا. Thus Qur'an is such that the dead hearts, Allah gives it light. وَالذَّسْيَ, according to tafsir of Ibn Abbas radiyallahu anhuma, هُوَ الْقُرْآنُ, this Noor is the Noor of Qur'an. وَيَجْعَلْ لَكُمْ نُورًا تَمْشُونَ بِهِ. This is the light, according to Allama Tabri, هُوَ الْقُرْآنُ الَّذِي أُنزِلَ عَلَى مُحَمَّدٍ. This is the Qur'an. So this light, we need to acquire this light in this world. Noorun ala Noor. Quran speaks about light. Noorun ala Noor. Ibn Abbas has explained that this is Iman and Amal Salihah. You have Iman, Noor, and on top of that you add another Noor, which is Amal Salihah. Subhanallah. Allama Suddi has explained Noorun ala Noor. When you have light of the fire, you got a match, and you've got light of the oil, a lantern with oil. So you could have a match, but you need a lantern which has oil in it. When you combine these two, will give you light, and none can survive without the other. They both together. So I used to explain, similarly is the light of the Quran and the light of Iman. When they combined, so you've got Iman, and with Iman you add the light of Quran. They cannot do without each other. Then what happens? يَهْدِ اللَّهُ لِنُورِهِ مَن يَشَاءُ. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala shows the straight path to the chosen servants. So we've been chosen with Iman. We need to make sure we get this Noor of Quran and the Noor of Amal. In the riwayat of Imam Ahmad, Abdullah ibn Amr radiyallahu an, where إِنَّ اللَّهَ خَلَقَ خَلْقَهُ فِي ظُلْمَةٍ. Allah created His creation in darkness. ثُمَّ أَلْقَى عَلَيْهِمْ مِن نُورِهِ يَوْمَئِذٍ. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent light on them. فَمَنْ أَصَابَ مِن نُورِهِ يَوْمَئِذٍ اهْتَدَى. Whoever is touched, whoever is fortunate to get this light, then he will be from amongst the guided. وَمَنْ أَخْطَأَ ضَلَّ. And whom this light avoids, misses, then they will be led astray. جَفَّ الْقَلَمْ عَلَى عِلْمِ اللَّهِ عَزَّ وَجَلَّ. So this light, we need to make sure from this Quran, make a niyat, Ya Allah, whatever light is in this Quran, Ya Allah, don't deprive me of this light. That's why in a riwayat of Imam Ahmad, in Zayd bin Khudri radiyallahu an, as narrated, Al-Qulubu arba'atun. There are 4 types of hearts. Qalbun ajradu fihi mithlu siraji yuzhir. The first type of heart is like a shining lamp, and that's the heart of a believer, which this lamp is filled with light. So you have the light, you are taking the light, Now you have acquired the light. Now you can give the light. But this one lamp can light up 1,000, 1,000,000, 1,000,000,000 lanterns. It just needs the right light with the right oil. Second, وَقَلْبٌ أَغْلَفُ مَرْبُوطٌ عَلَى غِلَافِهِ. The heart that is covered and tied up. And this is the heart of a kafir, a disbeliever. It is covered, it is tied up, and he cannot see the light. Number 3, وَقَلْبٌ مَنْكُوسٌ. The heart, it is upside down. And this is the heart of a munafiq, a hypocrite, who realizes and knows the truth, but he denies it. And number 4, وَقَلْبٌ مُسْفَحٌ. The heart that is clad in armor. So this heart is both Iman and Nifaq, hypocrisy. So like a legume, which it's when you put water, a seed, you put water, it grows. So that's Iman, and if it gets the right light, then it grows. And the other one of hypocrisy is like that of sores. These sores, they swell and they get filled with blood and pus. So either a person will get the light of Hidayat or he will turn the opposite direction. So this light is a very important light. Noorun ala Noor. So we have to check ourselves. Are we drawing from this Noor? There was a French doctor who served in the French Parliament, and he loved traveling a lot, and he specifically enjoyed travels in the ocean, and he spent many of his days and nights in the sea, and this was his passion. Besides that, he loved reading books, so he'd take as much books as he could, and on his sea travels he would read. And one day he came across the French translation of the Qur'an. So he came across the ayah of the Qur'an, كَظُلُمَاتٍ فِي بَحْرٍ لُجِّيٍّ أو كَظُلُمَاتٍ, like the darkness on a vast abysmal sea, a vast deep sea, يَغْشَاهُ مَوْجٌ, and it is covered by a wave, min fawqihi mawjun, above that a wave. So waves, overwhelmed by waves, topped by min fawqihi sahabun, and above that dark clouds, dhulumatun ba'duha fawqa ba'd, darkness upon darkness, one layer of darkness above another. So much darkness that if he stretches out his hand, he will not be able to see it. Likewise, Allah is giving this parable, وَمَنْ لَمْ يَجْعَلِ اللَّهُ لَهُ نُورًا فَمَا لَهُ مِن نُور. Whom Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't guide, then the intensity of darkness gets worse. The French doctor read this ayat and he said, this is a very amazing parable, because a person on a dark night, under a cloud, under the sea, under a wave, multitudes of darkness between a deep ocean, and this is an apt description. So he thought that Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam must have spent many days and nights at sea, because he could relate to it, and he was amazed how excellent description had taken, and how Nabi alayhi salam has described the futile efforts of a misguided person. It was so eloquent that he was taken aback by this. So he thought that even an expert in an ocean would not be able to describe this scene. And as he continued reading, he found out that Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam was unlettered and he never set sail on the sea. So he realized that this cannot be the words of a human being must be the words of Allah. A person who is drowning in the darkness of this dunya, how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has described it. And just based on this one ayah of the Quran, he accepted Islam. On one ayah of the Quran, he accepted Islam. ظُلُمَاتٌ بَعْضُهَا فَوْقَ بَعْضٍ, darkness upon darkness. So we need to be checking ourselves. How much of this darkness are we in? How much of the light of Allah have we absorbed? Hazrat Ubay bin Ka radiallahu anhu has said that there are 5 types of darkness. Allama ibn Kathir has mentioned it in his tafsir. He is enveloped in 5 types of darkness. One is his speech is in darkness. Secondly, his deeds are in darkness. Thirdly, his coming is in darkness. Fourthly, his departing from this world is in darkness. And lastly, on the day of Qiyamah, he will be in darkness in the fire of Jahannam. So Quran is Noor. Allah has described it as Noor. And this word Noor comes around 45 times in the Quran. So we said the first meaning which we've just crossed now was the Noor of the Quran. There was a youngster who traveled to London for some courses, for business training courses, and he was mashallah paban with his salah, and he was a righteous person. And during his free time he would listen to Quran, tilawat of Quran. So he would do it in his hostel room and make sure that the sound doesn't go beyond the walls. So generally, because it's a Muslim and he doesn't want to affect his neighbors, he thought so, he didn't want to offend anybody else. So he used to listen to Quran. But a young woman who lived in a hostel far away from his room, while he was listening to Quran, he knocked on the door. When he opened it, she was in front of him and she said, "Please switch off your music. I cannot engage in worship." Because she assumed that it was music, Quran. So he went out, he closed the door. He said, "I cannot hear anything. Your room is in another corridor, quite a distance from here. I cannot hear anything outside my room." But she was very adamant and said, "No, your music, you need to switch it off." So again, when few of his friends came and he was playing Quran, he told them that there's a nice qira'ah, I want you to listen. He closed the door. He made a sound so that nobody outside could hear. Then while they were listening, there was a knock on the door, and the same lady came, this young girl, and she said, "You're disrupting my ibadah, my worship with your music." She was very upset and angry. So he said, "This is not music, it's the words of Allah." But she was adamant. So one of the friends asked her that, "What do you worship?" So she said, "Shaitan." Nauzubillah, Allah protect one and all. So they were shocked. So they said, "Show us how you worship him." So she took them to her room, which is far away from his room. And in her room she had a human skeleton, bones scattered around with some candles, and she used to cast spells with his bones. And they were shocked to see that she was into satanic worship. And they were shocked to see the scene. But more amazing was the fact that this girl could, the Quran affected it. The Noor of the Quran was wiping out her darkness. And she actually quit the hostel because she could not do her rituals. So Noor, there are the meanings of Noor, the word Noor in the Quran. One is Islam, yuriduna liyutfi'u nur Allah. One is of Iman, Allahu waliyyul ladhina amanu yukhriju min al-dhulumati ila an-nur fama lahu min nur. Likewise, the meaning of Hadi, the one who guides, Allahu nurus samawati wal ard. Allah guides. Then Hidayat, أفمن شرح الله صدره للإسلام فهو على نور من ربه. This is the meaning of Hidayat. The meaning of Nabi, قَدْ جَاءَكُم مِّنَ اللَّهِ نُور, meaning of light. وَجَعَلَ الظُّلُمَاتِ وَالنُّورِ, the light of day, the light of the moon. وَجَعَلَ الْقَمَرَ فِيهِنَّ نُورًا. Then on the day of Qiyamah, Noor shall be given to the people of Iman. يَسْعَى نُورُهُمْ بَيْنَ أَيْدِيهِمْ وَبِأَيْمَانِهِمْ نَقْتَبِسْ مِنْ نُورِكُمْ حَلَالٍ حَرَامٍ فِيهَا هُدًى وَنُورٌ وَلَكِنْ جَعَلْنَاهُ نُورًا justice. وَأَشْرَقَتِ الْأَرْضُ بِنُورِ رَبِّهَا. So different meanings of Noor, but interesting what the Mufassirin have explained, that Noor is one and Dhulumat is many. So وَإِنَّ هَذَا صِرَاطِي, one straight path. وَلَا تَتَّبِعُوا السُّبُلَ, but the deviated paths are many. يُخْرِجُهُم مِّنَ الظُّلُمَاتِ, this is plural, many darkness. إِلَى النُّورِ, one light. So the commentators explain there's a secret in this, that whoever sees the light, they must realize that there's only one light, and that's the Noor of Allah. As well with regards to darkness, there are many darknesses. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the tawfiq and the opportunity to benefit from this light. A person who has the light of Allah, then no darkness can dispel and dissuade them, because they are moving on the Noor of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The amal for today is, Nabi alayhi salam told Hazrat Bilal radiallahu anh, Ya Bilal, hadithni bi arja amalin amaltahu fil Islam. Tell me which deed you did which has given you the most hope. So he said, Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam gave him the fadila. Why? فَإِنِّي سَمِعْتُ دُفًّا عَلَيْكَ بَيْنَ يَدَيَّ فِي الْجَنَّةِ, because I heard your footsteps in front of me in Jannah. So Hazrat Bilal radiallahu anh replied about the amal, لَمْ أَتَطَهَّرْ طُهُورًا فِي سَاعَةٍ مِّن لَيْلٍ أَوْ نَهَارٍ إِلَّا صَلَّيْتُ بِذَلِكَ, that I make wudu and I read salah after that, which the ulama explain is tahiyyatul wudu. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us tawfiq of understanding and making amal. Wa akhiru da'wana alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen.